You know, Kubo could potentially catch lightning in the bottle twice with this upcoming novel releasing on June 4th called Don't Bleach My Fist. I've been doing a little research and I discovered that this is all based off of a April Fool's joke that he started back in 2023 from a browser game called Bleach High School Warfare. And the game is still up. I'll have a link available in the description below. I do warn you though, for some reason, no matter which browser you use, Chrome, Edge, Firefox, etc., it just crashes when you try to translate it from Japanese to English. But I did take time to translate it so we can see what Kubo was cooking with. Also, if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and turning on alerts. I am Zaku Zealot. I love Gundam, I talk about Bleach, I might drop a One Piece theory or two every so often, and I also consider myself a slight amateur anime historian. Now, Don't Bleach My Fist seems to be the culmination of all of his April Fool's jokes based on this alternative universe that he created. So the initial joke started back in 2023. Bleach High School Warfare is a 13-minute visual novel, as you can see. The story is just focused on the male cast. So you have Ichigo, Renji, Kaku, Gin, Toshiro, and they are all reimagined into Gotei High, and they're fighting to be the top delinquents. From what I was able to translate and looking at how the story breaks down, it seems like in Gotei High, instead of having divisions, all of the divisions are now just different gangs and are all fighting for the top. And what's really cool about this novel is that it looks like Kubo, even though the story is really simple, he made character designs, backgrounds, and just because a story is simple doesn't mean that there's not potential there. What I was reading through in this novel, I was like, man, I kind of want to see what this looks like animated, and then it just kind of abruptly ends. Now, if you read the description for the upcoming novel that's coming, there is another side to Gotei High. You have Stern Cross Academy, but they're not featured in this particular, I guess, iteration of High School Warfare. It looks like that's something that may have just been made for the novel, or it is hinted at in the visual novel. We just don't actually see what they look like. And also a big hint at Stern Cross Academy is the fact that Ishida is within the novel. He's a transfer student in Bleach High School Warfare. He doesn't really fit in anywhere just yet, but it looks like just how the regular canon of Bleach plays out, that him and Ichigo, since Ichigo's mixed blood, is going to end up somehow uniting and teaming up. The one thing I noticed in the first April Fool's joke was, sadly, I did not see Chad. I was hoping to see Chad throw hands, because that's what he becomes later on in the expanded universe. Quick little spoiler, Chad becomes a professional boxer post 1000-Year Blood War. So seeing him in this version of Bleach throwing hands would have been really, really cool. But we do get Renji though, and if you look at Renji's character design, the eyebrows, the tattoos, he really fits the vibe of a delinquent manga. And also it seems like, at least from what I was getting through with this web novel, that a majority of High School Warfare outside of Ichigo was also focused on Renji as well. Now, Kubo definitely played more into the, I guess, the shipping side of the Bleach community with romance in his next April Fool's joke. Now, if you've been a fan of Bleach for a good while, you know that this is not new to the community. But in the late 2000s, early 2010s, there were browser text-based games, browser flash games that were just kind of based around dating sims for the Bleach cast, and that's kind of what Kubo gave in this Otome style visual novel. What's funny is that I had to look up what Otome style visual novel was, and I realized that I was more familiar than I thought. I as much as I am now a veteran weeb, I will always be a weeb at my heart. But with this particular April Fool's joke, what Kubo did was he took Grimmjow, Ukiura, Basby, Askin, so you have a mix of the Arankar and some of the Quincy, and he put them into this dating simulation. And honestly, I wasn't able to find a ton of footage like I was with the High School Warfare visual novel, but from what I was able to see, once again, you have Kubo creating new character designs, new backgrounds, new costumes. So of course, I do believe that this is going to be worked into Don't Bleach My Fist. Now, if you consider Kubo a chef and you look at the way these April Fool's jokes play out, it's like ingredients, right? The first ingredient that he introduced was the male cast, giving us a high school Gotei High dedicated to delinquents, where instead of, you have divisions in the main canon, you now have gangs. And then in the second April Fool's joke, he dials it back and he gives us romance, introducing the Quincy and the Espada. And then by the third ingredient, we finally have what I believe was the last little thing he needed to make this alternative universe come to light. And this is when I became more aware of Kubo's April Fool's jokes, because I fell for this. But he gave us the High School Warfare Girls Edition, which that was a fake light novel announcement, but the designs were so beautiful. And when I was researching this, it looks like this entire high school warfare thing, based on the designs and how great they are, was something that started in the Jet art book series. So it kind of makes sense that maybe he's using this as a medium to draw and create alternative characters, and going from 2003 and finally getting these female character designs in 2025. That's when things became just a little bit too like, hey, we need to make this real. This is something the fans are asking for. If you go on Reddit forums or some of the Twitter or X threads now that were out, fans wanted this to happen. And because of that, this is no longer an April Fool's joke. This is also now a part of what's coming out as a novel. We're going to get this girls edition, which is amazing. But I also want to see this play into just the overall story of high school warfare as well too. You have your male cast of warriors, you have what appears to be whatever romance is going to be within the series, and then you have your awesome cast of delinquent females who are going to be throwing hands and feet as well too. There's a word used for these type of characters, and I don't want to mispronounce it, but I believe when I looked it up, it was pronounced Garyus or Giryus, which is for delinquent schoolgirls. So and with this entire novel on the horizon and what's coming out, and looking at all of the ingredients that Kubo used to build this story out, he possibly has lightning in the bottle twice. I mean, if you look at the current state of anime and manga, if this novel does well, the ingredients that he built out as jokes is really something that you see a lot of fans are holding on to today as far as what they want to see. I believe things like Tokyo Revengers was really, really popular, even though the ending may have thrown some people off. Same thing with Windbreakers. Like, that was also another popular delinquent style fighting manga. And with Bleach already having the recognition from its main canon, and the fact that there's already these ingredients within the story, and you get to see Ichigo and Orihime and Gin and Toshiro, characters that may not have the spotlight as often in the main canon, be featured in a new way in an alternative universe. I mean, this can just evolve and become its own living entity, running side by side with the canon. I know I am wishful thinking, I am hopeful thinking, but I believe Kubo has the ability to make something like that happen. I've been playing a little bit more of the Japanese exclusive Bleach games, and it's really cool to see how much work Kubo put into creating and crafting these alternative universes, and also designing characters and villains for these games that look like that could have been early blueprints for main villains that we see later on in the main canon. So Kubo definitely enjoys writing, from what I can just pick up on based on just how much work he puts in on the expanded or outside universe of Bleach away from the main canon. And I don't want to leave Narita out of this either. He is a huge reason why Kubo is able to expand the universe of Bleach, and why we as fans have been getting so much more material with helping out with the novel side of it. And to his credit, away from the Bleach novels, Narita has worked on things like Vamp, Bakuno, and Durarara, which is still running, I believe. So Narita is definitely not like some small time unknown writer who's just making his own like novelization up. He is a powerhouse writer like Kubo, who has his own success away from Bleach, and it's just nice to see them get together and give us fans something that we can hold on to with the expanded universe. Not to go on a tangent or anything, but doesn't it feel a little bit like Star Wars, where you have this main canon where you have, you know, Luke Skywalker and Ichigo Kurosaki, they figure out their true lineage, they overcome the big bad, and they make a decision about, you know, what direction they're going to head in philosophically. And then outside of that main canon, you have an amazing expanded universe. And just like with Star Wars, with Bleach, you meet other Kenpachi, you get to figure out what the Gotei 13 was like, you know, before Ichigo was there, and even when he's away from the main part of the story. And then politics with the nobles, and so much more that Kubo could have added to the anime or even to the manga, but we get to enjoy it in this novel form. I'm a reader, I like reading, so it doesn't bother me too much at all whatsoever. But fingers crossed that we get to see a lot of this animated once, of course, the final core of the Thousand Year Blood War is over with, because all of these novels, including the alternative universe, has so much to offer. But don't bleach my fist. It will be officially dropping on June 4th in Japan. I believe we will get an English release at some point in time. Viz put a media kit out for it, so I'm assuming that date will come either a little bit before the official release or a little bit after that. But when it does, I will pick it up, I'll read, I'll do a full analysis on it, and it will be ready for you guys to watch and enjoy. And in the meantime, please let me know if you like these more casual style of videos that I'm doing. I'm just trying to fill that gap in between my longer analysis. So you're not going to get less content, you're going to get more content, but I want to make sure it's the content that you guys are interested in, and it's also content that I'm happy to do as well. I like talking about certain things that pop up that pique my interest, but I don't want to ramble. That's all for me. I am Zaku Zealot. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on alerts. Peace out.